This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Fields across the Canadian prairies and the U.S. northern plains are among the driest on record, raising production risks in one of the world's key growing regions for canola and spring wheat. As planting season begins, the dusty soils generate fears that seeds will fail to germinate or yield smaller crops in a year when demand for canola already far outstrips supply. Unusually strong wheat exports to China for animal feed have also lowered global supplies of the main ingredient in bread and pasta. Prices of canola, which is processed into vegetable oil and animal feed, hit all-time highs in February, and Canadian supplies look to dwindle by midsummer to an 8-year low.
China raised the floor price for wheat auction from state reserves on Monday, a government notice said, in an effort to dampen demand for the food grain. The floor price for most of the wheat put out for weekly sale from state reserves was raised to 2,350 yuan, $358.99, a ton, up from 2,290 yuan set in 2019, a notice on the website of the National Grain Trade Center said. Chinese traders and feed producers have been scooping up wheat from state reserves to substitute for corn and animal feed because of soaring corn prices. The buying spree has pushed up prices of staple food grain wheat.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Oil prices rose nearly 2% on Monday on optimism over the pace of coronavirus vaccinations in the United States and after the Yemen-based Houthi movement said it fired missiles on Saudi oil sites. Crude prices have remained range-bound in the past 3 weeks, as growing expectations of surging U.S. economic activity are balanced by the slow rate of vaccination in Europe and anticipation of additional supply from Iran in coming months. Brent rose $1.01, or 1.6%, to $63.96 a barrel by 10:49 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 14:49 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate, WTI, rose $1.10, or 1.9%, to $60.42 a barrel.
Top oil exporter Saudi Arabia will meet most Asian customers' requirements for May loading crude after some buyers had asked for lower volumes partly because of refinery maintenance and higher prices, several trade sources said on Monday. The demand for lower volumes comes just as the kingdom is set to phase out additional voluntary production cuts over the next few months under plans agreed by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and their allies, including Russia, to ease supply cuts. Reuters reported last week that 4 state Indian refiners had requested 36% less oil from Saudi Arabia in May than normal amid tensions between India, the world's third biggest oil importer and consumer, and the producer.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
6 environmental organizations, including the World Wildlife Fund and Greenpeace, on Monday called on Norway to stop plans to open ocean areas for deep-sea mining. The government in January launched a process to open areas on its extended continental shelf for exploring and producing minerals from the ocean floor, with plans to issue the first licenses as early as 2023. Minerals and metals for the green shift should be obtained from consumption reduction and better reuse on land, not from the depths of the sea where brutal mining can do irreparable damage to nature, the Environmentalists said in a statement.
Copper prices slipped on Monday on worries that top metals consumer China wants to put a lid on surging commodity prices to head off potential inflation. Concern about faltering demand and rising copper inventories also weighed on the market. Benchmark copper on the London Metal Exchange, LME, shed 0.4% to $8,893.50 a ton in official trading. Copper has gained about 30% over the past 5 months, having touched a 9-1/2-year peak of $9,617 in late February. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Farmers in Brazil, who planted their second corn outside the ideal climate window, are bracing for potential yield losses across center-south states, Ag-Rural, an agribusiness consultancy, said on Monday. At the end of March, Ag-Rural reduced its estimate of second corn production to 80.1 million tons. The numbers will be revised in the second half of April and, following the drier and hotter pattern, further cuts may be expected, the statement said. Brazil's second corn is planted after soybeans are harvested, but delays to collect the oilseed pushed back plantings.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.